Hello everyone. So happy to see you all here. My name is Tasle and this is Maria, and we are hosting this webinar. I would just use a couple of minutes in the start to say something about the network and what we are doing right now. So now it's in the middle of the year and we have established two country-based network, one in Uganda and one in Malawi. And actually in Uganda they had a gathering, they made it by themselves the 17th of May, the same day as we have our national day here in Norway. And Malawi, they are working on their event. So they are also going to make one or two events this year. So we're really looking forward to that. But in August, I'm also going to hold a gathering in Kenya, in Nairobi. So I hope that we can establish a country-based network in Nairobi as well in August. So we put out invitation to everyone in Kenya who want to come to this event the 23rd of August. It's just a one-day event with a dinner in the evening. And Tonje, as you also know, she is planning to have a gathering in Nepal, in Kathmandu, in September. So the invitation for the gathering if it will be a gathering there, the invitation will come in the next newsletter. So that will make 4 country-based networks. So we really hope that it works great for you, and that you can use this network for networking and gathering and help each other to accomplish what you want to accomplish, and to get to know each other and work something new on the way. And but still we have like WhatsApp group from Tanzania, from South Africa, and we really want to use that as well. And the next years we also want to establish more of the country-based networks. So now in August or September, we are launching the new post-exchange initiative grant. So last year we had 147 people who did apply for the grant, and 5 people did have the grant, and 142 was a bit disappointed, of course. And while we were working on this post-exchange, we saw that many of the applicants, they were on different level on how to make this work for everyone. So I have invited Maria Stubhaug. She's working as a key AI pedagogue, how to work with AI in Norwegian. So with AI, and that I think that everyone could level up a bit, but still it will be easier for me and Dilanka, as you know, also work with post-exchange. When we are choosing the right ones, if they are similar, it's more easier. It's easier for us to pick the right ones. So yeah, this is just an introduction, and maybe you will say something about yourself, and then we will start the webinar, the actual webinar. And after, in the end, we are going to have a Q&A. So the people who are on Zoom, they can ask questions. They can also ask questions in the chat under the webinar. So I will just gather up some questions, and you can ask me about post-doc change, what's new this year, and you can ask Maria about AI tools. Yes, Maria, do you want to say something about yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Maria Stubhaug, and I work as an AI pedagogue, mostly for schools, but also for companies, and assisting people to use or learn to use generative AI in their workflow. So in this webinar, I'll take you through some of the things that you can use AI for. We'll mainly focus on generative AI and large language models. So Tasli, if you could show my presentation, I would be very happy with that.
Yeah.
Yes. So as I said, a short introduction to generative artificial intelligence. So some of the things we'll be going through in this webinar is first understanding what is a large language model. So AI is a big field, and generative AI is a smaller field of it, and we'll be focusing on what we call large language models, such as ChatGPT and other models like that. Chatbots, in other words. We'll have a closer look at its strengths and weaknesses of the technology, some ethical implications, and we also will have a look at different models and what they're good at and what they're maybe not as good at, and help you choose the right model for the right task. In the end, we'll look at prompt engineering, that is how to talk to a chatbot to get the best results. And also you could, when you learn to use the chatbots for real, you could also create your own personal assistant. I have made an assistant for you that I will share with you in the end, so you can see how it works. So to start off, we have to understand what a large language model is. It's often shortened with LLMs. It is actually just a conversational partner. So imagine that you have your own personal assistant, which is well read upon all the books and articles that it can find on the internet, for instance. And then when you ask it a question, it could answer you and draw on all the information it has and serves you a good answer. It is trained on a vast amount of data, and it has learned to identify the most significant word in the sentence, which was what really made this new type of chatbots kick off for everyone to use. The thing that is important to know is that it only calculates the probability of the next token or word in a sentence. It doesn't really understand the content of the sentences it produces. So it's a chatbot. It's that can predict language, but it doesn't really understand language in the way that humans do. But it has learned how to how to predict and how to write sentences and write in a natural language like most humans would use. And it just chooses the most likely continuation of a word. So to make an illustration of this, I will use the AI iceberg model, and it shows us that at the top you have the fine-tuned version of a GPT model, which is generative pre-trained model, and it's trained to act as a conversational partner. So if you ask it a question, it will answer you just like a regular human being would. In that case, it can feel like you're actually chatting with a human, even though it's just a machine. Underneath the surface, you have the large language model, which is a neural network that is trained on large amounts of data. So it draws on all a complex data set, And then it has had people who has trained on how to make the connections between everything in the data, and then it has learned to put together sentences that make sense in a natural language. And at the bottom you see the data set, which is the training data, and it has drawn on or been trained on data like the common crawl, which is the internet, lots of books and articles, coding. We don't really know exactly what it has been trained on or how it has been trained, which can make it a bit difficult. But this is basically just, in short, how it works. So what we see and what we talk with is the top, the ChatGPT, for instance, or the model, the fine-tuned model. So basically it's just a model that has learned to recognize patterns in a vast data set. So the way it works is that it predicts the next token, syllable, or word in a sentence. For instance, if we have the sentence, "the earth is," you would probably guess that the word would be "the earth is round." And so does the LLM. It predicts that the most probable word after the earth is will be round. So if we have a closer look at it, it draws on statistics from all the data it has been fed with and trained on. For instance, the word round is the most probable next word because it's a common scientific fact. It often follows in this phrase. There could be other options like "the earth is warming," "the earth is beautiful," but it's not as common as "the earth is round." In some of the data you could also find that the earth is flat, though it's not very often. It's rare and controversial. The earth is dying, which is probably connected to environmental context. So you see that there are different varieties it could choose in a pattern, but most models are trained or set to pick the most probable word, which is most likely. Another example is the sun is shining and the sky is blue, which is the most common and logical in this context. You could say the sky is clear, but when it comes to the sky is cloudy, it contradicts with the possibility of the sun is shining. So you have different varieties and different options, but it chooses the most probable option. So the way they're trained on the big data set, and then they have people who has given feedback to the models and rewarded it for a correct connection. And after a while, it learns the best ways to make these connections, to generate tokens and connections between all the words to make sense when you speak to it. We can also, you might have heard of the talk of temperature, because we often talk about temperature when we talk about the reliability of a language model. So the common is to have a variety from 0 to 1, where 1 is a more creative response and 0 is a stricter response. Most models are set to somewhere in between, like 0.5, 0.7, but you could also choose this yourself in certain settings. The lower the temperature, the more safe and logical is the response. So it will choose the most probable response. But if you change this, you could put a higher temperature and it will be more creative and probably not choose the top rated most expected one as a result. But maybe instead of saying that the earth is round, it would say the earth is beautiful. So a lower temperature is good for facts, summaries and instructions, and a higher temperature is more for creative writing, good for sparring ideas, brainstorming, writing poems and so on. So as you see this illustration, I try to illustrate with a more creative way, like the seat is outside the car, and you see it's lots of illogical connections here. So the same is for words. They take the most probable with a lower temperature and more creative with a higher temperature. And usually you would want it to be somewhere in between. You want it to be a probable word token, but also you might want it to be a bit creative. One result could also be that if you have a lower temperature, it will write less text because it's more concise, precise, and with a higher temperature, it's you get more text because it's more colorful, so to speak. So what can we do with these models? As an LLM is very good for working with text, it can identify the next probable word, but it's also good as understanding context. So it knows it understands the most important word in a sentence. That makes it great to summarize text. For instance, if you have a large text, you can feed it into the large language model and it can make a summary of it. It can shorten it, it can explain it, it can simplify, and it can translate it. It's also good for a conversational partner, for instance, sparring ideas, which I love the most. I like to have a conversation and make the language model help me develop my own ideas. So it's a good conversational partner. However, it does have its limitations. It may calculate incorrectly because of all the data material. It doesn't understand what the content it produces, and it can also make the wrong connections. It can misunderstand context because maybe you ask for something that it doesn't really understand, but it will always give you an answer. Even though it doesn't understand what you want, it will still give you an answer, which again can result in hallucinations. So one of the challenges with large language models is that it's very good in writing language, producing language, which means that it will produce language in a manner that makes it very credible. So even though it's not correct what it says, it feels like it is correct. It presents your answer like a fact. The other thing is that a model, a chatbot, is trained up to a certain date, for instance, and it cannot learn anything new outside of the training. So you may have experienced that you ask for something and you say, oh no, this is wrong, and it will apologize and it will make corrections. But then again, if you ask questions anew, it will go back to its training data. So it can't learn anything new along the way in your conversation. The other thing is biases. It will have biases based on its training material and also the way it's trained. So then we have to understand who are these people training these language models, what are their values, and so on. And also everything can be emphasized when it comes in a conversation. And AI is not a source itself, even though several models now can search on the web and point you to sources. AI is the sentences it produces right now. It's created something new, but it's still based on its material, its data set. So the sentences are new, and one of the things with sources is that you should be able to retrace the sources that you have used. And the chatbot will never reproduce the same sentence over again. So if you ask the same sentence or same questions over and over again, it will give you a variety of the same answer or a different answer, but it will not be the written 100% the same answer. So if you want to be sure of what it produces, you always have to check with other more reliable sources. So you should use language models with caution. Be careful with what information you share. We don't know what they've been trained on, but it's said, especially in the beginning, now you can probably do some restrictions in your settings, but they use your conversations for training data, or some say they don't, but we don't really know what they use. They save the conversations. So be careful with sensitive information and what you share. And also be critical to the answers and check with more reliable sources. So it should be like a mental note every time you speak with a chatbot. There are a lot of ethical implications. I will not go through all of them, but some that you might need to think about is the consent and data rights. The training material is often used by copyrighted material, personal information and content used without explicit permission. I don't know if many of you perhaps are using Facebook, and there's been a discussion that they will use all your photos and all your posts as a training data for AI. So lots of the material that the language models have been trained on are photos and paintings online. Authors have written, or material written by authors, such as books and articles, and they've never been asked explicit permission to be the data material for the training of artificial intelligence. And also biases and discrimination, as I mentioned before, can be amplified through these biases presenting in the training data. And also there's another challenge, which is the owner rights to the output, what comes out, the answer that is produced by the language model. Because is it me that has asked the question or made a photo with the AI that owns the output, or is it the original authors writing the content that I based my findings on, or what I make, if it makes sense. The other one is the environmental footprint it leaves, because training these models, it takes a lot of energy and water. So training these models, for instance, the ChatGPT-4 consumes millions of kilowatts per hour. And also the interface, which is the usage that we do, is every time you ask a question, it demands a lot of energy. And this energy is put, or is, you have these big data centers, and they are temperature controlled buildings that houses computing infrastructures such as servers, data storage drivers and network equipment. And they need a lot of energy just to work and to process and generate all the answers, for instance, that you want. And you need a lot of water to cool down these computers. So for instance, there is a Norwegian researcher within the AI industry, and she said that for every response or chat question you ask a chatbot, it takes half a liter of water just to cool down the generators. So it's just to create an image of how much consumption of water and energy it takes. So also compared to a regular internet search, a chatbot requires about 10 times more energy than a standard Google search, for instance. And creating an image, which is even more, it takes as much energy as charging a smartphone. So the technology can both increase the need for data centers and also increase the data centers' resource consumption. So it leaves a very vast environmental footprint. So these are just some things that you need to think about before you use the language models. But then again, it can help you save time, and you can use your time for other things. And it can also help us solve some problems, probably. So the next, I will take you through some different AI tools. I won't go through all of these tools, but just to give you an idea of that there are many different tools that you can use generative AI for. These are some of the well-known tools. For instance, ChatGPT, which is probably the one that most of you have already heard of, maybe tried, which is owned by OpenAI. Then you have Claude AI from Anthropic, Perplexity, which is just Perplexity. Google has both Gemini and Google Notebook LM, Microsoft Copilot, which is Microsoft, of course. Consensus, I don't know if you know about this one, but it is a literary search engine which can help you find academic work online, and it helps you search and narrow the searches. You can decide whether you want open articles, or if you have a license to other programs, you can also choose from them. And then when you open the article, you can chat with the document. You can ask questions, you can ask for a summary, and you can highlight different parts of it. So it helps you understand and work with academic literature, for instance. There are a bunch of image generators online. One of them are Midjourney. Yeah, so you can just generate images if you want to try that. To have a closer look at some of them, you have ChatGPT, which you can use for free, but it has its limitations. It's great for everyday tasks, and is good for conversation. So everything you need to talk about or have need help with, you can ask ChatGPT. It's good for context and in general generating text and text production. It can also generate images using DALL-E as its base, and it's good at different languages. In the free version, you have a limited questions you can ask, but with a subscription, you can make your own chatbots, like predefined bots. You can use them as a personal assistant, for instance. You can work on projects over time and combine it with other plugins or apps. But still, you can do a lot with the free version of the program. Limitations. ChatGPT can be less precise when it comes to factual questions compared to other programs such as Perplexity. It can generate imprecise and incorrect corrections, and it can contribute to hallucination and confabulations. The thing is that it's good at text, so it seems convincing when it answers you. It has a limited context window, which is the amount of information it remembers in a conversation, especially in the free version. And here you have differences between the different models. But as in any other apps and such, if you have a subscription, you will always get a better model. But still, you can do a lot with a free model. Claude is a different one. It's very good with text, and it has a larger context window and in comparison with ChatGPT. So it can handle large amounts of text. It can also analyze your writing style. So if you have written different documents or reports, you can feed it to the model and it will analyze your writing style, and when it produces answers, it will write back to you in your own tone and wording. Here with the subscription, you can also create a project and work over time, the same as ChatGPT, and you can refine and adjust, and you can download it as a PDF, or you have all these different possibilities. Claude itself claims to be trained on focus on politeness and safety and ethics. Whatever they mean by that, I'm not sure of, but they say that they're helpful, harmless, and honest, the model should be. Limitations with Claude are that it lacks real-time information, especially in the free version, but it refers to online sources. If you have the paid version, it will also give you links to the sources it uses. Another model is Perplexity. It's not like the other chatbots because this is a combined search engine and an LLM. And it combines, so it searches on the internet, and it doesn't only use Google, it uses different search forms, and it uses different language models. As you see to the right in the photo, you can either choose, or it uses whatever is best for the task or the question you have asked. With a subscription, you can do more focused searches. So for instance, if I want only academic searches, I could do that, or if I want maths or social or different things, I could narrow the search. I could also decide which model I want to use. So it's not just random or the auto, but I could go in and say that I want to use Claude Sonnet, for instance. Another thing with Perplexity, if you have the subscription, is that you can create folders and work over time on a project, same as the other ones. But you can also create an article. So it combines all the answers you've given it's given you, and it presents it in an article, and you can go in and rewrite everything and adjust everything as you want, and then you could just post it online or download it as a PDF. So you have all these different options. The last one I want to introduce today is Copilot, because many of you may have Copilot through your work or through Office 365. It's based on GPT-4, which is one of the OpenAI models. It's compatible with all Office programs such as Word and Excel, and it's connected to the Bing search engine, which means that this is probably the best free version you can get, because it searches online. It gives you all the sources directly. It's also good for factual searches, brainstorming, and short texts. It's easy to trace the sources because it searches online, and it gives you all the sources right away. And also you can make adjustments here. If you have Word or Excel, you can open it directly in one of these and continue the work from there. So all these different models, you have to think about what is it that you need help with, and then choose a model based on your needs. For instance, if you want to do an internet search, I would either go for Perplexity or Copilot. If you want to work with texts, I would choose ChatGPT or Claude, for instance. So the next thing we have to talk about is prompt engineering. You could get an AI to do almost anything. You just have to think about what is it that you want and what is it that you need. So we talk about prompting, and a prompt is what you write to the chatbot, the input. And the more precise you are, the better the answer will come out. So for instance, think of it as you need your own personal assistant. What is it that you need him or her to do? So assign the chatbot a role. For instance, answer as a NORIC advisor, and then it will help you with everything based on that context. Then you usually have to give an objective. What is it that you want? Do you want it to write an article, a blog post, do an analysis of an article, or some data that you have? You have to present what is it that you want, the objective of the question. And then you should say something about the format. How do you want it? Do you want it as a list? Do you want it as a PDF or in code or a table, markdown, step-by-step way to solve a problem, for instance? Or in this case, maybe you want it as to describe your project that you're doing. Then you need to establish a context. The better the context, the better the chatbot will understand what is it that you want and how do you need it. So who are you and who are your audience? Say something about that, the situation that you find yourself in and the situation where the objective needs to be solved. You can also give examples. For instance, you have an example text and you want something new but different over a different theme. You can give an example and then ask it to create something similar based on your criteria. Then you have the tone. What tone do you want it to answer? Do you want it to write in a formal setting, informal, poetic, humoristic? Do you want it to answer you as William Shakespeare? Whatever you choose, write it and it will give you the answer. So try to think that the chatbot can't give you something you don't want, that you don't know that you want. So you have to know what to ask for in order to get a good response. Which also means that you need to know, have the information and know the context, and then it can help you as an assistant. So what to avoid? You should avoid yes and no questions, because it basically won't give you anything, but also it could be random based on the data it has. It doesn't necessarily give you the answer that you need. And also being vague. Try to be as specific as possible. For instance, is this text good? It doesn't really know what you consider a good text or in what context the text should be good. So ask for specific feedback. For instance, rewrite this paragraph, identify gaps in this article, elaborate on something, or continue this. So the more information and the more precise you are in your question, the better the response. For instance, I want help to write an email. So a vague prompt would be, help me write my email. If you want a better answer, you should be more precise. For instance, help me write a professional email to my boss requesting 2 days off next week for a family wedding. And what is this? What makes it better? You have the clear situation, you have the relationship between the recipient and the writer, the sender, and you have the purpose of the email. And then the chatbot will be able to give you what you want, better than just help me write my email. It doesn't really give any information. Another example, tell me about healthy eating versus give me 5 healthy eating tips in bullet points that a busy parent can actually follow. So you have a specific number, you have the format you want it in bullet points, and you have a target audience, a busy parent. So then it will give you the healthy eating tips in this context. So an example would be, you are a NORIC grant advisor. The task and objective is help me write an application for a NORIC post-exchange initiative grant. You could post, or you could add in the URL or the document. You could upload a document. You could add the template for the application, so it will help you fill out the forms. The context is that I am a NORIC alumni applying for a grant supporting my project, and I can add necessary information here to make it more clear. The tone I want to use a clear and formal language because it is a formal proposition. And the format is that I want you to use the provided template that I've already uploaded and ask me relevant questions to create a more precise application. If I have other important aspects or relevant information, I could also put it in this context. So the more context I give, the better the result. So with this as a background, the chatbot knows exactly what I want. And my favorite is always to improve your prompt by challenging the model to ask you follow-up questions before answering. So I would always end my prompt with ask me questions before answering me. So if the model needs some more information, it will ask me the questions it needs to give a more complex and more fulfilling answer. So it's probably my best recommendation. Here you have other recommendations. There are a lot of recommendations, but the most important thing is to be clear, avoid ambiguity, and define a role. And you can also say something about constraints. What it should not include is almost as important as what to include. You could use it to explain technical terms, but avoid too many questions. Use one question per prompt, and then continue after you see the first response, for instance. And also test and edit your prompts. Never accept the first response. It is an iterative process, which means that you should first ask if you start with all the, if we go back to this one, let's see. So if we start with this one, I write everything I need here, and then I get the first response. I would have a read through. Is there anything I need to change, any information I need to add in order to improve my answer? Then I write it and I go again, and then again and again. So never satisfy with the first response. It is a process that you need to work on. AI for project development, it's good for brainstorming ideas. Usually you have one idea and you need to get more inputs on that. You maybe need to challenge it. What are the weaknesses of the idea? You could use it to structure your proposal. You already have a project idea, but you want some input or structure because you are presenting it to someone else. You can get input from the chatbot. You could also use it to improve your arguments. Maybe you have some arguments, but they're not strong enough. You can ask for the chatbot to help you provide a stronger argument. You can also make sure that you have included all the relevant information. For instance, I would submit my draft and then compare it to the template and see, is there anything that I haven't answered yet? It will be good for identifying these gaps. So some examples of how you can turn your ideas into text using AI. You can use AI to help you shape raw ideas. For instance, I have an idea for a project about, and then describe your idea. Help me describe the idea with a few sentences. Because a lot of the time the challenge is keeping your idea short and refined for other people to understand it. So this makes the chatbot a good sparring partner to see that, have I explained my idea so that other people can easily understand what I mean. A variation of it, make it sound like the beginning of a grant application. So you get help to specify it directly for this task. Then ask me the right question, idea refinements. You can use the LLM as a sparring partner, as I said. For instance, act like a grant mentor, ask me 5 important questions I should be able to answer before applying the Nordic Network Post-Exchange grant. So you have already pasted in the URL for the where the post-exchange grant is explained, and then what you need to know and how do you need to answer it. It can help you with that. Then you can try help me write my answer in a formal, clear language for a grant application. So you can work with your original proposal and help it and prepare it for the application. Other ideas, you can use AI to make the text sound more formal, more clear, and more grant-worthy. For instance, you have your draft and you can paste it here, and then you can make this more formal and suitable for a grant application. So think of it as your mentor, and whatever you need help with, the chatbot can help you, as long as you ask the right questions. What is it that you need help with? And then write it. You can use AI to support creative thinking and alignments with the grant purpose. For instance, suggest 3 project ideas that would fit with the Nordic Post-Exchange grants with a focus on digital inclusion and youth engagement in, and then write your partner country. Or expand idea 2 into a 3-sentence summary that I can use in my application. So these are just examples of how you can use a chatbot to explore and expand your own ideas and then help refine it for the application. And then in the end, you can also use the chatbot to write an outline. How should you structure your proposal? Include sections like context, project idea, relevance, impact, and follow-up, and so on. So it helps you in the work of writing a good and easy to follow application of your project. I've put together a chatbot that you could try. I've already fed it with the application template and the URL. So you could either use this as a help to spur ideas about your project, let it help you refine your ideas, and also help you write it as a good application. So you could either scan the QR code here or use URL bit.ly post-exchange initiative, and then it'll take you to the chatbot. But always remember, it isn't perfect and it's a work in progress, so don't use everything it comes up with, but use it as a guide to help you structure your text and work, but be critical in the same way. So the final takeaways is that you should use AI as a tool to enhance your capabilities, but not replace your expertise. Remember that this is an assistant, it's not the answer. You need to know everything yourself. And today, the most successful developers are using AI. They understand how the technology works and the capabilities of the technology, but also its limitations. So it's important that you understand how it works and what it can do and what it cannot do. And then just think of the AI as a very skilled junior developer. It can write code quickly and it can handle routine tasks, but it needs guidance, review and oversight for someone who understands the bigger picture. So you are always the one in control, and it needs your specific guidance and instructions in order to give you the right answers and help that you need. So the main thing is that you need to know what you need help with, and then it can help you and instruct you. So that was it.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'll just do like this. Thank you so much. And I will put on my audio as well. It will be better. So we had some questions from the audience. So I will just take one or two of those, and then we will end the YouTube session. So just 2 questions, and then we will end the YouTube session, and then we will still be answering some questions in Zoom. Then we also can allow the participants to turn on their audio and so on. But just 1 minute. This was very helpful. And what you said about prompting, you said don't prompt, no, how do you say it? If you want some more questions, from more information from me, that was very helpful for me after talking to you about this thing. So, first question. 1 minute, 1 second. It would be okay. I understand why. So, how safe is the user, or how can you ensure your privacy while using the model? Any prompts?
I think you should always assume that it isn't safe. It depends on what you mean by safe. So I would always be careful with what I share of information, because I don't know how they use it, the information I share, if they store my chats, if they use it for training data. They don't really say what they do. You can turn off. I always go, or actually I try to turn off how they store your chats. But that means also that it's you get a poor answer because it doesn't remember your previous chats. So if you have the remembrance or the store your chats, you will get better answers. So it's kind of a you have to think about which one is better. But I don't know what they use. Even if I turn off the store my chats, don't use it for training data, I could never be sure that they actually keep to that. So just in general, be safe. Don't write anything that could share any sensible or personal information, sensitive data.
Sensitive data. And we also have another question, and I'm not an ICT person, that was information and communication technology person, and AI sounds to be much more related to ICT. Will it need to be with ICT support team, or what?
It's a good question, but the thing with chatbots now are that they can be used by anyone. You don't need to have any ICT competence. So just consider it a conversational partner, but the things that you need to be aware of is that it's not always accurate. It could lie, like hallucinate as they call it, and you need sometimes to check with other sources. But it's very good to work with text, help you with writing and daily tasks. It could give you step-by-step guidance. So it could help you with many of the tasks that we all of us do, even though you're not an ICT person.
Yeah. Is limited less.
Yes.
So the limits, it's just in yourself, actually.
Yes. So when I started, I was like, what could I use this for? I don't know. I started with simple tasks and maybe not as important tasks, but now I use it for everything. If I need to structure something, if I need to search for something, if I need to sparring ideas is one of my favorites. So in my line of work, I need to help with other viewpoints, testing my arguments and all that. So it's just your fantasy who puts the restraints on what you can use it for. But it should be something easy to use, so you could use it as an assistant without any knowledge.
Yeah. And that was the 2 questions that I put into the YouTube channel. So I'm now just saying bye-bye to the YouTube people. They are a couple. And you will also see this, you can see this webinar on YouTube